I found my wife's divorce papers 2 weeks ago, hidden in her desk drawer. She's planning to blindside me on January 4th, take the house I built with my own hands, get sole custody of our sons, and leave me with nothing. She has no idea I know. She has no idea I've been recording everything. And she definitely has no idea what's about to happen at the romantic New Year's Eve dinner she just planned for us. Before I go any further, drop a comment right now and tell me, where are you watching from? It started on Christmas shopping day. I'm 37, a managing partner at an engineering consultancy I helped build from nothing. My wife Vanessa is 39, a corporate lawyer who made managing director 3 years ago. We have 2 sons, Dylan, 16, and Connor, 14. They're both at boarding school, good kids, the kind that make you forget how hard marriage can be sometimes. That morning, Vanessa headed off to her annual Christmas spa day while I took the boys out for our tradition, shopping, lunch, maybe catch a movie. We were loading into the car when my phone rang. Vanessa. Darling, I'm so sorry to bother you, she said, and I could hear that spa music in the background, the kind that's supposed to be relaxing but always sounds vaguely threatening. I left my brand credit card in my desk drawer. They have a special offer here, and I really want to use it. Could you possibly grab it and bring it over? It's not far out of your way. I looked at the boys, already buckled in and scrolling through their phones. Yeah, sure. No problem. We'll swing by. You're wonderful. Top drawer on the right. Thank you so much. The house was quiet when I walked in. We have 2 places, this one in Dorset where the boys stay during holidays, and a flat in London where Vanessa spends most of the week for work. The Dorset house is mine in every sense that matters. I designed it. I oversaw the construction. Every room tells a story about what I thought our family would be. I went to her office and opened the top right drawer. The credit card was there, sitting on top of a stack of papers. But it was the letterhead that caught my eye. Bold, professional, intimidating. Peterson and Associates, Family Law Solicitors. My hand hesitated. We don't keep secrets, Vanessa and I. At least, I thought we didn't. I picked up the first page. Petition for dissolution of marriage. The words hit me like a physical blow. I kept reading because I couldn't stop, because my brain refused to process what my eyes were seeing. Petitioner, Vanessa Catherine Thompson. Respondent, Marcus James Thompson. That's me. I'm the respondent. Date of intended service, January 4th, 2026. That was 12 days away. I was 3 sentences into the grounds for divorce when my phone rang again. Vanessa. Oh, never mind, darling. I found it in my purse after all. I'm so sorry to have bothered you. I stood there, holding the credit card in my hand. The one she just said she found in her purse. The one that was definitely, absolutely, sitting in this drawer. She'd lied. She'd called me back because she realized, sending me to search through her desk might expose exactly what I was now holding. No worries, I heard myself say, my voice steady despite the earthquake happening inside my chest. Glad you found it. I hung up. Looked at the papers. Back at the credit card. My wedding ring caught the winter light coming through the window, and for a moment I couldn't remember why I was wearing it. The boys were waiting in the car, and I needed to keep this normal, keep this contained. But first, I read everything. She was citing unreasonable behavior as grounds. Quick, clean, efficient, very Vanessa. She wanted sole custody of Dylan and Connor. Wanted me out of the house, this house I built, within 2 weeks of service. The flat in London, worth more than our Dorset home, wasn't mentioned in her proposed settlement. Just that I should leave. We earn about the same, Vanessa and I. Her bonus was bigger this year because her firm had a good run. The boys' school fees are paid by her parents, always have been. She was banking on this being easy. Fast. Painless for her. There was a strategy memo from her solicitor, and reading it felt like watching someone plan a murder. Client is confident respondent will be unprepared and cooperative. Recommend immediate service to maximize shock value and minimize resistance. Shock value. They wanted me shocked. I looked at my phone. Looked at the boys waiting in the car, probably wondering what was taking so long. And something cold settled into my chest, something that felt almost like calm. I photographed every page. Every single one. Then I put everything back exactly as I'd found it, credit card on top, drawer closed. The boys didn't notice anything wrong when I got back to the car. We went shopping, got them new trainers and some books. We had crepes at that place Connor loves, the one that makes them with Nutella and strawberries. Dylan talked about the rugby team, Connor about some girl in his chemistry class. Normal. Everything perfectly normal. Except I couldn't stop seeing those words. Sole custody. Vacate the premises. Shock value. After we got home and the boys settled in to watch Star Wars, We'd already seen it earlier in the week, so I had an excuse to duck out. I told them I needed to grab coffee and answer some work emails. Connor barely looked up from the screen. The coffee shop was warm and crowded, Christmas music playing, everyone cheerful and rushed. I sat in the corner with my laptop and started reading more carefully. Page 4 detailed what Vanessa wanted. The house. Primary custody with me having reasonable visitation. Half of all joint assets plus, and this made me laugh, actually laugh out loud, causing the woman at the next table to glance over, half of my personal assets. No mention of her personal assets, which I knew were roughly equal to mine. We've always kept separate finances. We both contribute equally to a joint household account for bills and groceries, but everything else stays in our own names. It's worked for 16 years. I never questioned it. Now I understood why she wanted it that way. Easier to hide what she was planning. The solicitor's memo was damning. Client has been documenting respondent's behavior for approximately 8 months. Multiple instances of extended work trips, I work from home, emotional unavailability, I'm the one who does homework with the boys every night, and prioritization of career over family, rich, coming from someone who spends 4 nights a week in London. She'd been planning this since April. 8 months of documentation. 8 months of building a case. 8 months of lying to my face every single day. I should have felt sad. Heartbroken. Something soft and human. Instead, I felt my engineering brain kick in. This was a problem. Problems have solutions. I just needed to find the right one. But first, I needed more information. That night, after the boys were asleep and Vanessa was back at the London flat, she always stayed there Sunday through Thursday during term time, I did something I'm not proud of. I accessed her email account. We'd shared passwords years ago, one of those relationship trust exercises that seemed meaningful at the time. I'd never used hers. She'd probably forgotten I had it. I logged in. The emails went back months. The first one to her solicitor Marcus was dated April 18, 2025. Dear Marcus, thank you for your time today. As discussed, I'd like to proceed with exploring my options regarding dissolution of my marriage. I need to understand the process, particularly around custody arrangements and property division. My circumstances are somewhat complex. I scrolled down. Hundreds of emails. Marcus responding with detailed legal strategies. Vanessa asking questions about how to document my supposed failures as a husband and father. Then I found the emails to someone named Diane. I knew Diane, she was Vanessa's mentor at the firm, a senior partner who'd made managing director before Vanessa and apparently paved the way. Diane had been divorced 5 years ago. Vanessa had always spoken admiringly of how Diane handled it. Now I understood what handled it meant. May 3rd email from Vanessa to Diane, had another session with Marcus today. He says the unreasonable behavior angle is strongest, especially if I can show a pattern of emotional neglect. The problem is, James is actually quite involved with the boys when he's around. I need to emphasize how often he's not around, even though technically he works from home most days. It's about perception, Marcus says. About building the narrative. Diane's response made my stomach turn, exactly right. Your narrative is that you've been essentially a single parent juggling an impossible career while he's been focused on his own professional advancement. Never mind the reality, what matters is what you can prove. Document everything. Every school event you attend alone, every night you're home with the boys while he's working late, even if he's just in the other room. Perception is everything in family court. I sat back in my chair. The house was silent except for the heating system clicking on, that familiar sound that usually meant comfort and now meant nothing at all. They were coaching her. Teaching her how to lie effectively. I kept reading, and what I found next changed everything. There were iMessage threads backed up to her email. She'd enabled that feature years ago and probably forgot. The messages to Diane were casual, friendly, conspiratorial. November 3rd, he actually thinks we're doing better since therapy ended. The counselor said we were making excellent progress and discharged us. Poor thing has no idea I'm counting down the days until I can file. Face with tears of joy. Diane, LOL, that's what makes this so easy. Men are so oblivious. Just keep smiling and nodding. 8 more weeks. I must have read that exchange 10 times. The laughing emoji. The casual cruelty of it. We'd gone to couples therapy last year because Vanessa said she felt disconnected. The therapist was kind, professional, helped us talk through some communication issues. After 6 months, she said we were doing great, that we'd developed good tools and didn't need regular sessions anymore. Vanessa had cried happy tears in the parking lot afterward, said she was so glad we'd done the work. And the whole time, she was planning this. I took screenshots of everything. Hundreds of them. Backed them up to 3 different cloud services. Then I started thinking like an engineer instead of a husband. If Vanessa had been documenting my behavior, I needed to document hers. But I needed to do it better. Smarter. I needed evidence she couldn't dispute or explain away. That's when I remembered our home network router. I'm an engineer. I design systems for a living. And our home network logs everything, every device, every connection, every video call, every website visited. It's all there, time-stamped and archived, because I'd set it up that way years ago for security reasons. I spent the next 3 hours pulling logs. IP address 192.168.1.34 was Vanessa's laptop. And it had been very, very busy. 23 video calls to a device registered to Peterson and Associates. Duration averaging 45 minutes each. All made from our house, most from our bedroom. Times ranging from 9 p.m. to midnight, when I was usually downstairs working or watching television with the boys. She'd been calling her divorce lawyer from our bed while I slept down the hall. The browser history was worse. How to prove primary caregiver status. How to document emotional abuse without physical evidence. Maximizing child support in high-income divorce. How to claim father as absent parent. That last one made my hands shake. I work from home. I have dinner with my sons virtually every night they're not at school. I go to their rugby matches, their school plays, their parent-teacher conferences. I built my entire career around being present for them. And she was going to stand up in court and call me an absent father. I looked at the clock. 3:47 a.m. I'd been at this for hours, and I had work in the morning, and the boys would be up at 7 wanting breakfast and their normal dad, not this hollow thing I was becoming. But I wasn't done yet. I found her Pinterest account, linked to her email, public profile, easy to locate. She had several boards. London style, work wardrobe, healthy recipes she'd never made. And one titled, New Beginning. It was private, but I knew her password. Same one she used for everything, the name of her childhood dog plus her birth year. She'd never been good with security. The board had 247 pins. I counted them. Single woman apartments, modern, minimalist, lots of white space and plants. No room for family photos. No space for children's clutter. Solo vacation destinations, Bali, Tuscany, the Maldives. Articles about thriving after divorce and reclaiming your identity and healing from emotional abuse. One pin was an article titled, Leaving Your Emotional Abuser, a Guide. She'd highlighted a section in the comments she'd left for herself. Even without physical violence, emotional unavailability constitutes abuse. Document instances of neglect, prioritization of work over family, and failure to engage emotionally. My crime, according to this article, was working from home so I could be available for my children. There was a note she'd written to herself, dated May 3rd, right after one of our therapy sessions. Can't wait to live like this. Just need to get through the performance a little longer. Freedom is coming. Sparkles. Performance. Our marriage had become a performance. I closed the laptop. Sat in the dark office that I'd built, in the house I designed, and tried to figure out who I'd been married to for 16.5 years. Because it sure as hell wasn't the person who just called our life together a performance. The next morning, I made the boys pancakes. Dylan noticed I was quiet but didn't push. Connor talked about Christmas plans, asked if we could go ice skating this year. I said yes, of course, whatever they wanted. Vanessa called around noon. Cheerful, warm, perfect wife voice. How are my boys? What are you all up to today? Good, I said, watching Dylan help Connor with something on his phone, both of them laughing. Just hanging out. How's London? Busy, you know how it is. I miss you all terribly. We miss you too, I lied, and it was the easiest lie I'd ever told. Monday morning, I had a golf game scheduled with my solicitor David. We'd been friends for years, played every other Monday when weather permitted. Today it was too cold for the course, so we met at the clubhouse for coffee instead. I brought everything. David read the first page of Vanessa's divorce petition, and his face went pale. Christ, James. When did you find this? Saturday. Christmas shopping day. He kept reading, and I watched him process it, the timeline, the demands, the strategy memo. When he got to the part about maximizing shock value, he put the papers down. She's not just divorcing you. She's trying to execute you. I know. Does she know you know? No. She thinks I'm completely in the dark, just like her solicitor wants. David was quiet for a moment, thinking. Then he pulled out his phone and made a call. Sarah? It's David. I need you at the clubhouse in 30 minutes. Bring the family law specialist from your team. Yes, it's urgent. Trust me on this one. He hung up and looked at me. You need more than just me on this. Sarah's the best litigation partner we have, and her team includes someone who used to work for the most vicious divorce solicitor in London. If Vanessa's playing for keeps, we need to play smarter. 40 minutes later, I was sitting in a private conference room with 3 solicitors, and they were going through everything I'd found. Sarah was sharp, mid-50s, with the kind of eyes that missed nothing. Her specialist was a woman named Rebecca, younger, with a quiet intensity that made me think she'd seen worse than this and won. "This is textbook," Rebecca said, tapping the emails to Diane. "Mentor coach divorce strategy. I've seen it a dozen times. Older partner who went through a divorce shows the younger one how to win. They treat it like a hostile corporate takeover." "Because that's exactly what it is," Sarah added. "Look at the timing. When's your firm's merger announcement, James?" I blinked. "February." "How did you know about that?" "Because if she divorces you in January, your February income increase doesn't count as marital assets. She's locking you into your current income level for support calculations while she keeps her managing director salary and bonus structure. It's brilliant, actually. Ruthless, but brilliant." The room felt very cold suddenly. David leaned forward. "Here's what we're going to do. You don't tell her you know. You act completely normal through Christmas and New Year. Meanwhile, we prepare counterpapers. Everything documented, every piece of evidence organized. And the second she serves you on January 4th, we serve her right back," Rebecca finished. "She wants an ambush? We'll show her what a real ambush looks like." I nodded slowly. "There's more evidence I can get. I just need to be smart about it." Sarah's eyes narrowed. "What kind of evidence?" I told them about the network logs, the documented calls to her solicitor, the browser history. Then I told them about an idea I'd had. My home office has security cameras. For insurance purposes, equipment protection. They're motion activated and legally installed in my private workspace. If she's been going through my business files like I suspect. Rebecca smiled. It wasn't a nice smile. Then she's documenting herself committing what could be argued as corporate espionage, depending on what files you have in there. Do it. But James, you need to be very careful. Everything has to be legal, defensible, clean. No emotional reactions, no confrontations. Just documentation. I'm an engineer, I said. Documentation is what I do. The cameras went up that night. Small, expensive, nearly invisible unless you knew where to look. Motion activated, recording to encrypted cloud storage, completely legal for my private office space. I didn't have to wait long. December 28th, 3:47 p.m. I'd taken the boys to the cinema. Connor wanted to see some action film he'd been talking about for weeks. Vanessa was supposed to be in London, but the motion sensor triggered while we were in the theater. I checked the footage that night after everyone was asleep. There she was, my wife of 16 years, in my office. Going through my desk drawers. Photographing contracts with her phone. Opening files on my computer. She knew my password, another bit of shared trust I'd never revoked. The camera had audio. I heard her phone ring, heard her answer on speaker. "I'm in his office now," Vanessa said, and her voice had this cold efficiency I'd never heard before. "Marcus said to get photos of the client contracts, right? To show he's hiding income." "Perfect." Another woman's voice. "Diane, I recognized it from firm events. That'll prove he's not being transparent about his finances. Men always think they're so clever with money, but they're sloppy about documentation." Vanessa laughed, actually laughed. "He's at the cinema with the boys. He has no idea I'm going through everything. God, this is almost too easy." "That's because he trusts you," Diane said, and there was something smug in her voice. "That's what makes it work. By the time he realizes what's happening, you'll have the house and full custody. He'll be so broken he'll agree to anything." "I know. I just need to keep the performance going for another week." They chatted for a few more minutes about strategy, about timing, about how I'd be completely blindsided. Then Vanessa hung up, took a few more photos, and left my office. I saved that footage in 5 different locations. Watched it 3 times to make sure I wasn't hallucinating. Then I sent it to David, Rebecca, and Sarah with a simple message, "Got it." Rebecca's response came back within 10 minutes, "This is gold." Her own voice, her own admission of bad faith documentation. Her solicitor is going to lose his mind when he sees this. Don't delete anything. Don't touch anything. Just keep being the perfect husband for 1 more week. 1 more week of performance. I could do that. If she could lie for 8 months, I could lie for 7 days. Christmas came. Vanessa's parents joined us. Her father Richard had always looked down on me, made it clear I wasn't good enough for his daughter. Never mind that I went to a better school than she did, earned a better degree, built a successful firm from nothing. To him, I'd always be the builder's son who got our daughter pregnant. That's true, actually. Connor was a surprise, arrived 8 months after our wedding. Richard has never let me forget it. Christmas dinner was an exercise in acting. Vanessa's mother Patricia kept making pointed comments about fathers who actually show up for their families, looking at me like I was some deadbeat instead of someone who'd been to 94% of his son's school events in the last 3 years. I smiled, poured more wine, complimented her cooking. Richard got drunk and started on his usual commentary about my career choices, how I could have done more with my education, how Vanessa had settled by marrying me. Vanessa just sat there, letting him talk, occasionally touching my arm in this performative show of support that made my skin crawl. Dylan pulled me aside after dinner. "Dad, are you okay? You and Mum are acting weird. Like, fake." My 16-year-old son could see through us. I wondered how long he'd noticed. "We're fine, buddy. Just tired. It's been a long year." He didn't look convinced, but he let it go. Connor was too young or too distracted to notice, thankfully. That night, after everyone had gone to bed, I sat in my office and looked at the calendar. January 4th was 9 days away. 9 days until Vanessa planned to destroy everything. But I had a different plan now. December 29th, Vanessa came to me with an idea. We were in the kitchen, she was making coffee, I was reading the news on my tablet, and she turned to me with this bright, excited expression. "I had a thought," she said. "What if we did something special for New Year's Eve? Just the two of us. A romantic getaway? Like we used to do before the boys." I looked up from the tablet. "Yeah? That sounds nice. What did you have in mind?" "There's this hotel, the Lancaster Suite at the Grand. They have a special New Year's package, dinner, champagne, the works. My mother could watch the boys for the night. We could just reconnect. Remember why we fell in love." She said it with such warmth, such apparent sincerity. If I didn't know what was in her desk drawer, if I hadn't read her emails to Diane, I might have believed her. This was it. Her final performance. One last romantic memory before she served me with papers and took everything. "That sounds perfect," I said, and I meant it, though not in the way she thought. "Let me know what you need me to do." She kissed me on the cheek. "I'll book it today. This is going to be wonderful, James. I love you so much." "I love you too," I said, and the words tasted like ashes. After she left for London, I called David. "She's taking me to a hotel for New Year's Eve. The Lancaster Suite at the Grand. Says she wants to reconnect." David was quiet for a moment. "That's when you do it. When you confront her." "I know. I'll bring the laptop with everything on it. All the evidence, all the recordings. She wants to have one last romantic evening before destroying me? Fine. Let's see how romantic it feels when she realizes I've known for 2 weeks. James, are you sure? Once you do this, there's no going back. You could wait, let her serve you on the 4th, and then respond. That might be cleaner." "No," I said, and my voice was steady. "I'm done watching her lie to my face. I'm done being the oblivious husband in her little performance. She wants to talk about our future? We'll talk about it. Just not the way she planned." Rebecca's voice came on, they had me on speaker. "Bring us in on this. We'll have everything ready to file on January 2nd. Beat her to it by 2 days. When she serves you, you're already 3 steps ahead. Can you keep the performance going that long?" I thought about Vanessa laughing with Diane about how easy this was. Thought about her calling our marriage a performance that she couldn't wait to end. "Yeah," I said. "I can keep it going. I've been learning from an expert, after all." The next few days were surreal. Vanessa came home more than usual, spending time with the boys, being affectionate with me. We exchanged gifts on Christmas morning. I got her a first edition book she'd mentioned wanting months ago, back when I thought we had a future. She got me a watch, expensive and thoughtful, and teared up when I put it on. "I'm so glad we worked through our issues," she said, her hand on my face. "I love you so much." I looked into her eyes and wondered if any of it had ever been real. New Year's Eve arrived cold and clear. The boys went to Vanessa's parents' house, Patricia fussed over them, Richard barely acknowledged them, normal grandparent dynamics for our weird family. Vanessa had packed a bag with her nicest dress, the blue one I'd always loved. I packed my laptop. The Grand was exactly the kind of place Vanessa would choose, expensive, elegant, impressive. The Lancaster Suite had rose petals scattered across the bed, champagne chilling in a bucket, candles everywhere. Every detail perfect. "This is beautiful," I said, and I meant it. It was beautiful. It just didn't mean anything anymore. She changed into her dress while I set up my laptop on the desk, hidden behind my toiletry bag. We had dinner reservations at 8. I suggested we go down early for drinks. The restaurant was intimate, candlelit, the kind of romantic that would normally make me feel lucky. Instead, I felt like I was sitting across from a stranger wearing my wife's face. Vanessa ordered wine. Made small talk about the boys, about work, about New Year's resolutions. Then she put down her glass and reached across the table for my hand. "I've been thinking a lot about us," she said. "About our future. About what's best for the boys." This was it. Her moment. The speech she'd probably rehearsed with her solicitor. I pulled my laptop from the bag I'd brought and placed it on the table. Her face changed. Just slightly. A flicker of confusion. "What are you doing?" she asked. "I've been thinking about our future too," I said, opening the laptop. "Want to see?" "Darling, can't we just have a nice dinner without work?" "This isn't work, Vanessa. This is us." I turned the screen toward her. Network activity logs. Rows and rows of data showing her laptop's IP address, the video calls to Peterson and Associates, the timestamps and durations. She went completely white. "How did you?" She started. 192.168.1.34, that's your laptop's IP address. "Would you like to see what you've been searching?" I clicked to the next window. Browser history. How to prove primary caregiver status. How to document emotional abuse. How to claim father is absent parent. She reached for the laptop. I pulled it back. "We're not done yet," I said. "Let's look at your emails next." People at nearby tables were starting to notice. The couple next to us had stopped eating, trying very hard not to obviously eavesdrop but failing completely. I showed her the screenshots. The emails to Marcus, her divorce solicitor. The messages to Diane planning strategy, laughing about how oblivious I was. "You've been spying on me." Her voice was rising now, shaking. "No. I've been documenting you. There's a difference." I was scared. I was just protecting myself, exploring my options. I clicked to the next file. Her own email from May 3rd, "He has no idea I'm counting down the days. This is almost too easy." She put her hand over her mouth. "You want to talk about being scared?" I kept my voice level, conversational. "Let's talk about April 18th when you first contacted your solicitor. Or May 3rd when you wrote to Diane about how therapy was just a performance. Or November 3rd when you actually laughed, about how I thought we were doing better. You're taking everything out of context. Am I?" I played the audio from my office camera. Her voice filled the small restaurant space. "He has no idea I'm going through everything. God, this is almost too easy." Diane's response, "That's because he trusts you. By the time he realizes what's happening, you'll have the house and full custody. He'll be so broken he'll agree to anything." Vanessa's laugh, "I know. I just need to keep the performance going for another week." The couple at the next table wasn't even pretending not to listen anymore. The woman looked horrified. The man looked like he was taking notes for his own future reference. Vanessa was crying now, mascara running, hands shaking. "You recorded me? In your office?" "My office. My equipment. My legal right to secure my workspace. Your solicitor will explain why that's perfectly admissible." She stood up suddenly, knocking her chair back. "You violated my privacy. This is exactly why I need to leave you." People were definitely staring now. The restaurant manager was hovering near the kitchen, trying to decide if he needed to intervene. I leaned back in my chair, completely calm. "Sit down, Vanessa. We're not done. You wanted to talk about the future? Let's talk about January 4th. She sat. Barely. Perched on the edge of her chair like she might run at any moment. "January 4th, I said. "That's when you planned to serve me, wasn't it? Demand immediate vacate of the family home. Cite unreasonable behavior for fastest resolution. Sole custody of the boys. Does this sound familiar?" Her face was a mess of running makeup and genuine shock. "How long have you known?" "Christmas shopping day. When you sent me to get your credit card. The one that was in your desk drawer. The one you lied about finding in your purse." I watched the realization hit her. She'd tipped me off with that phone call. 2 weeks ago, one small lie to prevent discovery, and it had destroyed her entire plan. I've known for 2 weeks, Vanessa. And I've spent those 2 weeks documenting everything. Just like you spent 8 months. Except I didn't have to lie. I just had to pay attention. "What are you going to do?" Her voice was barely a whisper now. I closed the laptop. "I already did it. I filed for divorce this morning. January 2nd. You'll be served at your office tomorrow. And unlike you, I didn't cite unreasonable behavior. I cited 8 months of premeditated fraud, bad faith documentation, and conspiracy to deprive me of custody rights through manufactured evidence." The manager was definitely approaching now. I didn't care. Vanessa pulled out her phone with shaking hands. Calling her mother, probably, or Diane, or her solicitor. Someone to fix this, to tell her what to do. My mother will be here in 30 minutes, she said after hanging up. You need to leave. No, I said simply. I paid for this room. You're welcome to leave if you'd like. 28 minutes later, I counted, Patricia burst into the restaurant lobby like an avenging fury. She spotted us immediately and came storming over. What have you done to my daughter? I stood up, calmly putting my laptop back in its bag. I showed her the evidence of what she's been planning to do to me for 8 months. You trapped her. Patricia was nearly screaming now, causing several diners to actually leave. You got her pregnant and ruined her life. She was supposed to be a QC, supposed to have everything, and you dragged her down. Your daughter is 39 years old, Patricia. She made her own choices. I didn't trap anyone. You were never good enough for her. A builder. You were always beneath her. I'm a managing partner of an engineering consultancy, and I've been the only parent your grandsons have consistently had for 3 years. But thank you for that assessment. Patricia lunged for my laptop bag. Give me that. You have no right to those files. The security guard who'd been radioing for backup stepped between us. Ma'am, I need you to step back. Do you know who I am? The guard looked unimpressed. Ma'am, I'm going to ask you to leave the premises. That's when I saw my brother James's car pull up outside the lobby windows. I'd texted him earlier to bring the boys at 9 o'clock. It was 9:03. Dylan and Connor got out of the car. Through the glass, I watched them take in the scene, their grandmother being restrained by security, their mother crying at a restaurant table, their father standing calm in the middle of chaos. They came through the lobby doors, and everything stopped. Dad? Dylan's voice cut through all the noise. What's going on? Why is Grandma screaming at you? Vanessa stood up, mascara streaked, dress rumpled. Baby, this is complicated. Sometimes adults have disagreements. Grandma said Dad trapped you, Connor interrupted, his 14-year-old voice sharp with confusion. Did he? It's not like that. Mom, are you divorcing Dad? Dylan was looking right at her now, and I saw my son's face doing the math, putting pieces together. Vanessa looked at me, then at the boys, then back at me. Sweetheart, sometimes people grow apart. Sometimes what's best for everyone is... Were you going to tell us? Dylan's voice was quiet now, which somehow made it worse. Or just surprise us like you tried to do to Dad? The lobby had gone completely silent. Even Patricia had stopped struggling against the security guard. I spoke carefully, calmly. Boys, your mother and I are getting divorced. But you'll always have both of us. This is between her and me, not about you. Why is everyone yelling at you if Mom's the one who wants to leave? Connor asked, and the simple logic of it hit like a hammer. Patricia started up again. He's poisoning them against you, Vanessa. He's... Grandma, Dylan cut her off, and there was something in his tone that reminded me of myself. Stop. Just stop. Dylan looked at his mother, really looked at her. Then at me. Then he walked over and stood beside me. Connor followed without hesitation. My sons. Choosing sides without being asked. Seeing truth without being told. Vanessa reached for them. Boys, please. They didn't move closer. Didn't move away. Just stood there beside their father while their mother and grandmother fell apart in a hotel lobby on New Year's Eve. My brother James put his hand on my shoulder. Solid. Supportive. A police officer who'd seen enough domestic situations to know when to intervene and when to just be present. Security was escorting Patricia out now. She was still yelling, still threatening, still insisting I was destroying everything. The other guests were filming on their phones. It was a disaster. It was also over. We left the hotel together, James, the boys, and me. Vanessa stayed in that restaurant, alone at a table set for romance, surrounded by evidence of her own lies. The drive back to Dorset was quiet. Connor fell asleep against Dylan's shoulder. Dylan stared out the window at the dark countryside passing by. Dad, he said eventually. Were you guys ever really happy? I thought about that. About 16 years, 2 sons, a house I built with my own hands. About therapy sessions and family dinners and all the small moments that make up a marriage. Yeah, I said. We were. Once. A long time ago. What happened? People change. Sometimes they change into strangers wearing familiar faces. He was quiet for a while. Then, are you going to be okay? I looked at my sons in the rearview mirror. Connor asleep and trusting. Dylan awake and worried but here, still here, choosing to be here. Yeah, buddy. I am. New Year's Day was strange. The boys were quiet but not traumatized. More relieved than upset, like a tension they'd been carrying for months had finally released. Vanessa's mother and my sister-in-law Emma stayed with them while I went to get my injuries checked. Not physical, I wasn't hurt. But I needed documentation of the confrontation, the public scene, Patricia's attempt to grab my belongings. My solicitor's advice. When I got back around 7 that evening, Vanessa had left for London. The house felt lighter without her. The boys noticed it too. That night, after they'd gone to bed, an email came through from Vanessa. Subject line, my demands. I almost laughed. After everything that happened at the hotel, after I'd shown her months of evidence, after our sons had chosen to stand beside me in a hotel lobby, she was still sending demands. I opened it. Full sole custody. Both the house and the London flat. Me to move out within 1 week. Uncontested divorce. All joint assets plus half of my personal assets with no mention of her assets. £75,000 per year in child support plus £15,000 for a full-time housekeeper. Access to my partnership accounts and full disclosure of all upcoming deals. The list went on. And on. My first edition book collection. All the Lewis Carroll lithographs I'd been collecting since university, pieces she'd never even mentioned before. A detailed inventory of personal items that read like she was looting a museum. And the final line, these are my terms. My father will continue paying school fees only if you cooperate fully. I suggest you think carefully about the boy's future before refusing. She was holding our son's education hostage. I forwarded it to David with a simple message, she's still playing. How badly will this hurt her case? His response came back within minutes, catastrophically. She's been exposed committing fraud, humiliated in public by her own mother's behavior, and she's still making unreasonable demands while threatening to cut off the children's education. Forward this to the judge with a bow on it. This is a gift. January 2nd, 10:15 a.m. My divorce petition was filed. Clean, factual, supported by mountains of evidence. Reasonable requests, 50-50 custody, fair division of assets, no support payments in either direction. Vanessa was served at her law firm at 10:47. I know because she called at 10:48. I didn't answer. David did, from his office, with me and Rebecca listening on speaker. Your client, Vanessa's voice was shaking with rage, filed for divorce without discussing it with me first. This is completely inappropriate. Your client, David interrupted smoothly, has been planning to divorce my client since April without discussing it with him. Glass houses, Ms. Thompson. He violated my privacy. He recorded me. He secured his own workspace with legally installed cameras and monitored his own network with equipment he owns. Everything was obtained legally, and frankly, your client documented herself engaging in bad faith evidence gathering. Would you like to discuss that? Silence on the other end. I didn't think so, David continued. My client has filed a comprehensive petition with supporting evidence. You'll receive the full documentation within the hour. I suggest you review it carefully with your solicitor before making any further demands. She hung up. By noon, her law firm knew everything. I know because Adrian, my business partner, texted me a photo of Vanessa leaving the building, clearly crying, while colleagues watched. The HR complaints she'd filed about needing flexibility due to absent spouse were directly contradicted by the school attendance records showing I'd been to 94% of events over 3 years while she'd attended 11%. Her senior partners had questions about whether she'd misrepresented her personal situation to gain workplace advantages. The firm's internal investigation started that afternoon. But the real fallout came from Diane. 3 days later, I got a call from Rebecca. You need to hear this. Vanessa's firm discovered that Diane had been coaching multiple junior associates through divorce proceedings. Apparently this wasn't her first time playing divorce strategist. The firm has policies against senior partners advising staff on personal legal matters, conflict of interest, misuse of position, ethical violations. And Diane's been demoted. Moved to their satellite office in Manchester. Effectively the end of her partnership track. And Vanessa has lost both her mentor and her credibility in one move. I sat with that for a moment. I hadn't intended to destroy anyone's career. I just wanted to protect myself and my sons. But Vanessa had made her choices. Diane had made hers. Actions have consequences. That night, another email from Vanessa, you've destroyed my career. Are you happy now? I wrote back, I submitted evidence to my divorce filing. What your firm does with that evidence is their decision, not mine. She didn't respond. 6 weeks later, the financial discovery was complete. And the numbers told a story Vanessa didn't want anyone to see. She'd borrowed £45,000 from her parents for legal fees. She'd assumed, planned on, winning a substantial settlement from me. Enough to repay them, keep her lifestyle, maintain her independence. But my evidence had collapsed her entire case. The absent father narrative destroyed by school records. The emotional abuse claims undermined by her own emails laughing about performing therapy sessions. The hidden income accusations disproven by my transparent financial records. Her solicitor sent a message through David, recommend accepting 50-50 division. No additional support. No preferential treatment. Fighting it would only increase costs. Which meant Vanessa couldn't repay her parents. Patricia left me 17 voicemails about the money. I didn't listen to any of them. Just saved them as evidence of harassment and had my solicitor send a cease and desist. The final settlement came through in mid-February, 50-50 custody, with the boys choosing to stay with me during school weeks. 50-50 assets. No support payments in either direction. Clean break. Everything she'd planned to avoid. The boys adjusted better than I expected. They saw a counselor at school, worked through their feelings about the divorce. Dylan admitted he'd known something was wrong for months, just couldn't name it. Connor said he was sad but also relieved not to be watching mom and dad pretend anymore. Smart kids. Too smart for our lies. Vanessa picked them up for her first custody weekend looking exhausted. Older. She started to say something to me, then stopped. Just took their bags and left. Dylan texted me an hour later, Mom's crying in her flat. Should I feel bad? I typed back, feel whatever you feel. That's always okay. 3 months after I found those papers in her desk, Vanessa sent me an email. Different from the others. Quieter. I don't expect you to forgive me. But you were right about the boys needing stability. And you've given them that. Can we try to co-parent without the solicitors managing every detail? I stared at that email for a long time. Thought about 16 years together, 8 months of lies, 2 weeks of counterplanning, 1 explosive confrontation that ended everything. Finally, I wrote back, for the boys, yes. We can be civil. We can be effective co-parents. But we can't be what we were. That person is gone for both of us. Her response came hours later, I know. I'm sorry I made you into an enemy instead of just letting you go honestly. It wasn't enough. Sorry never is. But it was something. Now it's spring, and the boys are doing well. Dylan made the first rugby team. Connor asked out that girl from chemistry and she said yes. They sleep at my house during the week, Vanessa's flat on weekends she's not working. It's not perfect, but it's honest. I sleep better now. No more performances. No more wondering which version of my wife I'd wake up to. Just truth, even when it hurts. I didn't win this. She didn't lose. We both just learned an expensive lesson about what happens when you try to ambush someone who's paying attention. But my sons are safe. They're happy. They know both parents love them, even if those parents can't love each other anymore. And honestly? That's enough. Comment below and tell me, would you have confronted her earlier? Or would you have waited like I did? What would you have done differently? The house I built is quieter now. The office where I found those papers is just an office again. Sometimes Dylan asks questions about why we really got divorced, and I tell him age-appropriate truths. Connor mostly just wants to know if he can have friends over for gaming nights. Life moves on. People heal. Kids are resilient. But sometimes, late at night, I think about that moment in her desk drawer. The credit card sitting on top of divorce papers. The phone call where she lied about finding it in her purse. One small mistake. One careless moment. And her entire 8-month plan collapsed. She taught me something valuable, my almost ex-wife. She taught me that the best defense against deception is attention. Not paranoia, not suspicion, just attention. Paying attention to details, to patterns, to the small moments when someone's mask slips. She spent 8 months building a false narrative about who I was as a husband and father. I spent 2 weeks documenting who she actually was when she thought nobody was watching. And in the end, the truth won. Not because truth always wins, it doesn't. But because I made sure it had evidence, documentation, timestamps, and legal standing. The boys just came home from school. Connor's talking about the chemistry girl again. Dylan wants to know if we can go to that rugby match this weekend. Normal teenage concerns. Normal family chaos. I built this house with my own hands. Designed every room, supervised every detail. She wanted to take it in the divorce, but it was never really hers to take. It was always mine. The boys' home. Their stability. Now it's just ours, me and the boys. And sometimes Emma, my sister-in-law, who brings dinner and helps with homework. And James, my brother, who's become more of a co-parent than Vanessa ever was. Family doesn't always look like you expect. But it works. I won't lie and say I'm not angry sometimes. That I don't think about the 8 months she spent laughing with Diane about how oblivious I was. That I don't remember her voice on that recording, this is almost too easy. But I also won't pretend I'm destroyed. She expected me broken, compliant, devastated. Instead, I'm here. In the house I built. With our sons who chose to stay. living honestly for the first time in years. So yeah, she wanted to blindside me with divorce. Wanted to take everything while I was too shocked to fight back. But she made one mistake. She forgot that engineers solve problems. That's what we do. We see a system, understand how it works, and find the most efficient solution. She was my problem. The solution was simple: document everything, stay calm, and let her destroy herself with her own lies. And you know what? It worked. If you made it this far, thank you for listening. Drop a like if this story resonated with you. Subscribe for more stories about people who fought back against betrayal. Thank you for listening.